I'm Craig.
Hey, I'm Justin.
And today we're doing a video around embarkation tips. So we're going to give you some tips. Might be your first ever cruise, or maybe you haven't cruised for a while. We've got some tips for you today that'll help make the process a little bit easier for you. Okay, tip number 1. So we highly recommend that you either fly or drive in the day before your cruise. Why is that?
You don't want to get to a late ship.
Well, this is true. The ship's not going to wait for you, and it gives you time in case you've got things like delays with your flights or anything like that. We've had that recently. We're coming home from a cruise, thankfully. We didn't have any issues getting there, but they cancelled our cruise and we had a 7-hour delay. We're pretty lucky. We're delayed in Sydney, so we're able to leave the luggage there at the plane and head into Circular Quay and have a bit of a look around. Second tip is download the app. Really important. So all of our cruises have been on either P&O or Princess. For both of those, really important to have the app. What are some things you can do on the app?
You can check where your other guests are, like your friends.
Yep.
You can order drinks.
Really important. You can also see things like what's going on around the ship. So on Princess, this one here behind me is the app. Bit hard to see on the screen, but if you search for Princess Cruises, you'll find it. There are two. You're looking for the one with the icon that looks like that pointy finger. There it is. So make sure that you're able to log in and that the app is up to date. There's been some recent updates on the app, so you want to make sure the version you've got is the most recent one, so it'll work on the ship. Okay, tip number 3, do you want to do matching cruise shirts? So this is a thing we've seen quite a bit. This is a picture of us and some friends in our matching shirts. We just ordered them online, so you can have a look on Amazon, Temu, things like that, and you can find some matching shirts. It's something we've seen a bit of over the years that we've been cruising.
Yeah, it's definitely trending.
Absolutely, and you get a lot of positive comments, I find, as well. Tip number 4, medication. So if you take medication daily, really good to have it in its labelled boxes. So not like the ones in the image there. Don't pop them out or just take the sleeves. Leave them in their boxes so they can tell that they'll prescribe to you. Probably more important on an international cruise, but something we always do to make sure we don't have any problems with security or border patrol.
You want to get at least 2 weeks worth.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll take into account things like if you've got delays, right? So you want to make sure you've got enough. In case something happens, if you do miss the ship in port, we'll talk about that on another video, but you want to make sure you've got enough and that you take them in your carry-on luggage.
Yeah.
Carry-on, something we're going to talk a little bit more on shortly. Okay, luggage tags is number 5. So, luggage tags. When you get coming up to your cruise, you're going to be able to download luggage tags from the website or from the app. When they're available, usually around about the 10 days before, you can print them out, you download the PDF, print them out. By default, you just fold them up and staple them to the handle on your suitcase. However, we like to buy these plastic sleeves, and they've got a little metal ring on them that you put over your luggage, as you can see in the picture there. So with these are really good because they stop them from coming off your luggage, so we find those quite helpful. We've got the dog there coming to say hello as well. So these are really, really good. You can pick these up on Amazon, Temu.
And plus if it rains, you don't want it getting ripped off.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you drop your luggage off, and we're going to talk about bag drop shortly, you'll find that they're just stacking your luggage up with everybody else. So I've never really trusted just having the paper ticket. I find putting them into these really helpful. Do a search online. Make sure you look for your cruise line, whichever cruise line you're going with, because they've all got different size luggage tags, which means the little plastic holders are different size as well. All right, the next one is putting your important items in your carry-on luggage. So if you think about things like passports, your boarding pass, some cruises you actually require proof of travel insurance. So having all those things in a folder in your carry-on luggage is really important as well. Oftentimes when you're dropping your luggage off at the bag drop, they'll remind you, do you have your passport? Do you have your travel documents? So this is just a reminder, something else to put on your radar while you're planning for your cruise.
Definitely.
All right, number 7 is boarding passes. So if I get out of the way, that behind me is the boarding pass. Really hard to see, unfortunately, but we'll overlay an image of it in the video there as well for you. So you can see there that it's got a QR code. That's what they're going to scan when you go through to the check-in point. From there, they'll give you your medallion if you're on Princess, or your cruise card if you're on a different cruise line. This is one from P&O, and this is the medallion that you get on Princess. If I put it the right way up. They'll also give you a little lanyard to put that on as well. Don't really like the lanyard. You can also purchase accessories on the ship, or you can pre-purchase those as well. We've had a lot of people asking questions about, is it worth personalising your medallion? What do you think?
Once you've hit all the tiers, I think, yeah, go ahead and personalise it. But I kind of like the different colours because it shows that you're moving up the ranks.
So what Justin's referring to there is you can see these three are all different colours. So the first time we cruised with Princess, they still had the card, the cruise card. So we got our blue cruise card. The first time you sail with Princess nowadays, you get a medallion, but it'll be a blue colour. If you do want to personalise them, you can certainly do that. It does cost you extra to do that. However, because we've been really trying to get up those loyalty levels, and we'll do another video on the Princess Loyalty Program, we've just been really happy just to get the coloured ones to sort of show our journey up that loyalty tier. Alright, so the next one is embarkation time. So on that same boarding pass, you're going to see when you can embark on the ship. So during COVID, and I think a little bit before that as well, there used to be strict boarding times. So they'd give you about a half-hour window when they'd say this is when you can show up to the ship. A lot of cruise lines are actually quite finicky about that. They won't let you enter the building until your boarding time.
This is why it pays to get there early so you're not stressing it out.
Yeah, I also recommend now, as you can see on this boarding pass, and again I'll put an image of it on the screen, you can see that there's a bit more of a window, so we've got 12:30 to 3 o'clock. Another tip from a couple of people who've done quite a few cruises is sometimes it is worth getting there at 12:30 because a lot of people have the same idea that we generally have, which has come a little bit later in that window, okay? So the last couple of cruises we've done, we've found we've been able to get on the ship a little bit before the time. They opened it up early. They must have been ready, okay? So they were able to get us onto the ship a bit earlier. However, doesn't always go that way, right? So not probably the best advice you could take. Probably would more recommend to come a little bit later in that period. We'll talk about bag drop shortly, but you can drop your bags off and then go for a bit of a wander around. So bag drop. So what is bag drop all about? So once you've got your luggage tags, you've put them onto your suitcase, and probably recommend to do that if you've flown in the day before or you've driven in the day before, as we've recommended, to do that the morning of your cruise. So have these in your suitcase ready to go. Once you've got up, ready to go, you've had your brekkie and you're all excited because the ship's in port, pop these on your suitcase, right? Once you've done that, you've generally from about 9 o'clock in the morning, maybe even a little bit earlier, you're able to drop your bags at the ship. So you won't be able to get on the ship. It's way too early for that. And I think you'd agree it's generally pretty busy.
Go and have a coffee or a
Absolutely.
beer, whatever.
Yeah, or in our case,
a wine.
Find a wine and do that. Couple of points of interest there. If you're in Brisbane, there's nothing around the Brisbane International Cruise Terminal. So probably not the best advice for Brisbane. However, if you're lucky enough to be cruising out of Sydney, there's a lot to do.
Opera House.
Exactly, especially if you're cruising out of the International Cruise Terminal at Circular Quay. If you're at White Bay, it could be a bit of a different story. There's not a great deal around there either, right? But what we find if we're at the International Cruise Terminal, we generally have to check out of the hotel around about the 11 o'clock mark. But before that, we're so excited, we're up, we're ready to go. You can see the cruise ship from the hotel we generally stay at. Exactly, you just want to get down there and get on there, right? Even if you're not able to get on there, what you can do is you can simply drop your bags off. At the International Cruise Terminal, you can actually go up and view the ship, right?
Yes.
So you can go up the escalator right before bag drop, go up the top, and you can actually walk all the way along, and you can have a look at the ship.
Wave to everybody.
And wave to everybody who's lucky enough to be staying on from the last cruise there as well. Yep. And you can, spot the staff and have a look. We were lucky on the last cruise. I was able to pick which room was ours, and we came in on the right. The ship came in on the right side, so I was able to go, that's going to be our cabin, and I actually got it right.
Yeah.
I think the time before I didn't quite get it right, but I was in the ballpark, so I think it's pretty close, right? So with your bag drop, so there's going to be porters there, and they're going to be available to take your suitcase. Once they've taken your suitcase, you're free to go.
Yeah.
If your boarding time's there, you can have a look at the line and decide whether or not you want to jump on the ship straight away. If it's early though, drop your bags and, as I say, go for a bit of a wander around and see what you can do. If you're at Circular Quay, so much to do, right? You're right there in the rocks. You can jump around, have a look, and usually there's markets
Pack
there.
a brolly.
Definitely pack an umbrella. We've been caught with that a few times. The other thing we've been caught with is not having warm enough clothing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we hunted around all of Sydney trying to find a jacket or a jumper or something to wear, but it didn't really work out that well for us. So one thing we'd probably recommend to do is to check out the City Extra Cafe, and you can also drop your luggage there. It's a bounce luggage location as well.
24 hours.
24-hour cafe, and it's quite reasonable prices.
Very
and the
good.
food's actually really good there as well. A couple of times we've got off the ship, skipped breakfast on the ship, and actually gone and had breakfast there.
Yeah.
So if you're dropping your bags off, that's a good location. If you're getting off the ship and maybe you don't have a flight for a little while and you need a place to store your luggage, highly recommend. About $8.
12 hours, 24.
It was 24 hours for $8, so that's a pretty good deal. We're not the best packers, so we'll often have quite a bit of luggage. On the last cruise, on the last cruise we took 3 suitcases all up, plus the 2 carry-on bags. So we're not what you'd call the carry-on luggage type. However, that's our tip. If you are getting off the ship or you're needing to kill some time, that's something you can do. I also recommend having a look at the Opera House. If you haven't been to Sydney before, or maybe it's a while since you've been to the Opera House, you can do tours there as well.
Really
so as you get to the Opera House, you'll see an escalator going down. Take the escalator down, past the bars, and walk all the way through. And in there, you'll find there's a gift shop, and that gift shop is where you purchase tickets to the Opera House tours. It's quite different to do an Opera House tour compared to just having a look from the outside, and you get to go to places you can't really go otherwise.
Yeah.
The front of house tour will take you into the performance areas, and you're only really going to see those if you've got a ticket to see a show. This is another way to sort of do that. We'd also recommend, if you like a glass of wine or a nice cocktail, the Opera House bar is quite good there as well.
There's other bars there as well, but that's the nicest.
Yeah, it's good because you're sitting there with a view of the Harbour Bridge. The only downfall is that from the Opera House, you can't see the Opera House. But the bridge is quite beautiful there as well. We had some friends recently who did bridge climb. If you've got time, that's a good thing to do. Just bear in mind it can take a few hours. I think they were gone for about 3 hours doing that. But they highly recommended it, and something we've got on our list to do when we're back in Sydney, which is not too far away. Anything else you'd recommend?
Around from the Opera House there's a really nice park you can walk around.
Around a Mrs. Macquarie's chair, that sort of area.
Yeah.
Museum was quite good if you've got some time to kill. That was not
rocks.
too far away. Yep, so you're in the rocks there. So right where the cruise ship comes in at the International Cruise Terminal, behind there is the rocks. There's a art gallery there, the Gallery of Modern Art, I think it's called.
Pubs, cafes.
Pubs and cafes, yeah. And if you can get it when they've got the markets on, the markets at the rocks are quite good as well.
Yeah.
We usually stay at the rocks when we're cruising out of Sydney. We stay at the Rendezvous Hotel, and you can see we've a room tour we've done of the Rendezvous Hotel, or in particularly the historic homes or historic houses at the front of the Rendezvous Hotel. So check that one out. All right, so what happens after you've dropped your bags? It's your boarding time and you need to get on the ship. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to show them your boarding pass. Now, your boarding pass, as we said before, is found on the app. So when you open the app, you'll see there's some cards at the top. So you can click on that and that'll bring it up. They're going to want to see that because they want to know that you're actually going on the cruise before they let you into the building, right? Doesn't matter which one you're going through, the process is basically the same.
Yeah.
From there, you're going to go through check-in. So at check-in, they're going to do things like check your ID, make sure you've got a credit card or at least some sort of payment method attached to your account.
We always take passports.
Yeah, even on a domestic cruise, we'll generally take a passport because it's quite a good form of
It
ID.
also pays to have copies of that in your main carry-on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And things also like your travel insurance. I think it's good to have a copy of your travel insurance there as well.
Absolutely. Don't want to get caught out without that.
Absolutely. Now, when we did the South Pacific cruise, you actually had to have travel insurance because you weren't allowed off the ship in certain ports if you didn't have it. So that's one of the things they were checking at the check-in desk, was to make sure you had that. Once you've checked in, you're going to get either your cruise card or your medallions ready to get on the ship. However, you're not quite there yet, but you're getting closer.
Yeah.
After that, you've got to meet your friends from security. So what's security like at the cruise terminals?
It's pretty easy. They're nice. They get through pretty quickly.
It's similar to an airport security line, right?
Yeah.
So you're going through a metal detector and your carry-on luggage is going to go through a X-ray machine.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, you're basically ready to get on the ship. If it's an international cruise, you will have passport control there as well before you get on the ship. But after that, it's the exciting walk, right? Always say, ready to walk down the aisle. The aisle I'm ready to walk down is more than likely the cruise ship aisle, right? So once you step foot on the ship, they're going to scan you again. They want to make sure everything's ready to go. You've gone through all the process and you're ready to get on the ship. So one last time, they'll scan your card or they'll scan your medallion if you're on Princess, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah. It's not the funnest part of the cruise, but as soon as you get on that gangway, is it?
Yep.
Party
time. All right, number 11 is explore the ship. You're on the ship, you've gone through security, you've gone through bag drop, and you're ready to have a look around. Most of the ships these days are quite big, right? So there's a lot to explore. So don't limit yourself to it, right? So one of the first things we'll do when we get on the ship is generally we might find a drink, right? It's time for a beverage. You've got to fight that dehydration in the Australian weather. So we'll generally go and find ourselves a nice little beverage, we'll find ourselves a nice little bar. However, there's so much more to do on a ship. Don't just limit yourself to that. Another good thing to do is get up on deck. Have a look and see what the layout of the ship's like. Hopefully you've watched a few videos, you've had a look at the deck plane, so you've got a general idea. But nothing really beats being on the ship, right, and having a bit of a look around.
Yeah.
All right, here's something that has changed. So if you haven't cruised in a while, the safety muster drill, our 12th tip, may take you a little by surprise. But I think it's a positive. I think things have changed for the positive.
It's easier.
It's
quicker.
So how does it work these days? So generally speaking, you're going to be able to watch a safety video in your cabin. You can oftentimes watch it on your mobile phone as well.
Yeah, it's just easier to do. Do it in your room because that way you can check your room out, unpack if your luggage is there. It's just quicker.
Absolutely. And the good thing with the technology with the medallion is because these things have a little RFID tag in them, they can tell who's in the room and who's watching the video. So I don't have to watch it, then Justin watches it. They can tell that he's in the cabin with me at the same time while it's being played. We've done, I think, 13 cruises now, and yes, it does get a bit repetitive watching the same video over and over again. However, you've got to do it, and you want to make sure you're up to date.
Yeah.
Things do change, so you want to make sure that you understand it. You'll also find in your cabin you've got a life vest. I've tried the life vest on. I can't remember if you've tried it on.
Yeah, I'll show you the photo.
Yeah, there's a photo somewhere. So we've got, you can try it on and make sure you actually know how it works.
Don't play with it.
But do try it on.
Try it on, but
Yeah.
I think there's bells and whistles and stuff. I don't think you're supposed to
Yeah, so
play with it.
there is a whistle for attracting attention in case 3,000 people bobbing around in the ocean isn't enough attention. You've got a whistle and a light that comes on when it comes in contact with water. So you're able to try that on and make sure you know. If you're not sure how to use it, you can ask your cabin steward as well. Your cabin steward's going to come and knock on the door generally in the first couple of hours of your cruise. They'll introduce themselves and see if there's anything else you need.
Yeah.
Once you've watched your video, maybe you've tried on your life vest, it's time to go in and check into your muster station.
Yeah.
If you're
Let's do that.
If you're on a P&O cruise, it'll tell you where your muster station is. So you can see on this one, it shows that it's muster station C. Generally speaking, I think it's fair to say that your muster stations are on your promenade deck because that's where your lifeboats are, right? So on the back of the door, which is the map you can see here behind me, and I'll put about a picture of that on the video, you can see the location as well of your muster station. So you need to go down there and check in. It's as simple as if you're on a Princess cruise, they'll scan your medallion. If you're on any other cruise line that uses cruise cards, they'll simply scan your card.
Yeah.
And that's just to make sure that everybody has done that. And why do you do that? It's so you know where your muster station is. So in the event of an emergency, you know where to go to get help.
God forbid.
Exactly. Number 13, so unpack and make yourself at home. So you alluded to this before. This is something that we've picked up from tips from other people and really stand by it. Even on a short 3-day cruise, we'll always unpack. We'll put up some hooks and we'll put up some fairy lights and things like that. If you want to see what our cabin looks like when we're on a cruise, it's pretty indicative of the one we did on the Crown Princess. There's a video on the channel there as well. So you can check that out and see how we set it up. We'll do another video about things that you can purchase and things that you can do to make the cabin feel a bit more like a home. I think the big message is this is your home for the next few days. Could be the next couple of months if you're lucky enough. So make it yours.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is stairs versus lifts. So most ships, or the ships that we've been on, have got 3 banks of lifts and stairs. So you'll have the forward at the front of the ship. On a ship, it's called forward. You'll have the aft at the back of the ship, or towards the back of the ship, and then you'll have the mid-ship stairs and elevators as well. You'll find that there'll be one that's fairly close to your cabin. Another good tip though is that those lifts get really busy.
Really busy.
Especially on embarkation day when people have got all their carry-on luggage that they're trying to take up. Also disembarkation day, the worst day on a cruise. Because so many people like us choose to take their own luggage off the ship. So what happens is you're waiting for ages.
Yeah.
And you get people trying to jam themselves into an already packed lift. Right, so a great tip is use the stairs as much as possible. If you're able-bodied and you're actually able to use the stairs, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Most things aren't too far down or too far up. If you're on deck 5 and you need to get to the buffet on deck 16 or 15, yeah, okay, you're probably going to want to take the lift, right? So it might be worth that bit of a wait for the elevator. Other than that, I think you're pretty much okay to do the stairs. It's a good thing to do when you're looking at which cabin you want to book when you're actually booking your cruise, and we'll do another video on some hints and tips on what to do with booking your cruise, is to have a look at the position of your cabin in relation to the position of the stairs and the elevators.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't want to be too close to the elevators and stair banks, simply because you can get a lot of noise. There can be a lot of people talking when they're coming in and out of the elevators. So personally, I prefer a cabin at the front or the back of the ship because you get less pedestrian traffic. However, if you've got mobility issues, you might be better off being a lot closer.
Yeah.
So number 15 is around deck plans. So a ship is really like a city or a really big shopping centre.
Floating one.
So easy to get lost. So acclimating yourself to where you are on the cruise ship and where you're trying to get to. So how do you do that? So on your app, you'll generally have deck plans there as well. The Princess app will actually give you step-by-step instructions of how to get to different locations around the ship. So if you look at the app and you say, I'm in my cabin and I want to get to the Botticelli dining room for breakfast, and it will actually tell you how to get there. So it'll tell you to come out of your cabin, turn left, go to the elevators, all the way down to here, etc., etc. Some places aren't as easy to find as you might think. So on the Crown Princess, for example, you've got 2 dining rooms on deck 6, and you can't walk from one to the other without actually going up and over because there's a galley in between, right? So it's always good to make sure that you've got a way to find your way around. If you go to guest services, they'll be able to give you a paper copy of the deck plan, so you've got that if you want it. You prefer that. Personally, I quite like the app. But you'll also find in stairwells and around the elevators, there'll be a map up on the wall that you can have a look at as well. Princess have got these really nice big touch screens, and they're huge, like they're much bigger than the TV here behind us. And with those, you can use those to get directions and see maps of the ship as well. All right, so the next tip is to dress comfortable. So yes, most cruise lines have formal nights, not all do, and some cruise lines like P&O even have theme nights. However, they're generally not going to be on your first day. Your first day, you're generally going to be checking out of a hotel. If you live fairly close to port, you'll probably be driving to port. You want to make sure you're comfortable.
Yeah.
No one's going to look down on you for being in shorts and a t-shirt, right? You can even go dining rooms and things like that in shorts and t-shirt, particularly on that embarkation day. People are pretty forgiving of that. So make sure you're wearing something comfortable. I think sunscreen, hat, things like that are usually good advice for that sort of thing as well. As we said in a previous tip, you want to get out and explore the ship, and part of that is going to be on deck. So you're going to be in the sun. So having some good sun protection is good for that.
Didn't you mention like take a change of clothes just in case?
Yeah, that's a good tip as well. So you might want to go for a swim, or you might just get sweaty and you want to change your clothes. The reason that's such a good tip, because you think, well, hang on, I'm taking my luggage on. Sometimes you don't see your luggage for a while, so you may not see your luggage until in the evening at
So
times.
pack stuff that you need, because you may not get to your room and your luggage, I don't know, it might not be right there waiting for you. So most people just have their backpack carry on, like medication if they
Yep.
need it, bottled water.
Phone chargers, things
Yeah.
like that. Because, yeah, I'd hate to have my phone die just as I was about to order a drink. That'd be
Battery pack.
bad.
Yeah.
We don't need that. So dining options for Embarkation Day. So with Embarkation Day, you'll find a lot of people will go to the buffet. And buffet food has come a long way, I think. I know we've noticed on our last couple of cruises that the buffets have been really quite good.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something you can do. And if you have a look at your app or your Princess Platter or your daily plan, it'll tell you what hours each dining venue is open and available.
Yeah.
However, oftentimes there is a main dining room that's also open and available for Embarkation Day. Sometimes you'll find that you'll have back-to-back cruises. So back-to-back cruises where you complete one cruise but you stay on the ship and you do the next one as well. We could do a video on back-to-back cruises. If you want to see that, pop a comment in the comments box below and we'll have a look at doing that as well. So those people need to have dining options. So there'll be a dining room open as well. So have a look at your Princess Platter, have a look at your daily plan, or have a look at your app to see what dining's available on that Embarkation Day. I find the dining rooms are much of a nicer dining experience. It's more laid back. It's generally not as busy as going to the
Because people
buffet.
don't think of it.
That's right. And the buffet is so popular on Embarkation Day, so anything that can get you away from those crowds, personally, I think is a good thing. This is a big tip. Now, popping your phone into airplane mode will just stop you from getting charged, right? Even if you're on an international cruise and you've got international roaming on your plan, still put your phone into airplane mode. International roaming doesn't cover you when you're at sea, right? So there's maritime coverage a lot of the time, but that maritime coverage is charged like wounded buffalo, right? We've heard horror stories of people who have just gone about their usual day, checking their emails, watching YouTube clips, watching some Netflix, got to make sure you know what's going on the Squid Games. However, don't do it using mobile data when you're at sea. Definitely a good tip is to pop it into airplane mode. So what about internet, right? So you can purchase internet packages on every cruise we've done. If you've got the Premier or the Plus package on Princess, it is included in that as well. So that will enable you to connect to your friends and family as well. If you have Apple, it'll work with your SMS or your iMessage if you're messaging from Apple to Apple. But generally speaking, what we'll do is we'll use Messenger, right? Because it's all online. What if you don't want internet package, right? If you don't want internet package and you don't want to, be in contact, that's great. Completely understand it. Not something I can do. I love my social media, love being able to keep up with things and what's happening in the world. However, if that is your bag, definitely you can do that on a cruise. An important thing to understand is that you don't need to have an internet package in order to use the app. The app will still work on the ship's Wi-Fi even if you don't buy an internet package. You can use the messaging feature in the app as well. So if you're traveling in a party and you don't want the internet package, you can still use that cruise ship app, or the ones we've used anyway, to be able to communicate and track each other on that app as well. All right, number 19, the Sail Away Party. So, the Sail Away Party, what is it? It's exactly what it says on the tin. So it's a party that the cruise line will hold. Generally, if the weather's good, they'll do it up on deck. And it's a big party. I know on the P&O ones, wow, that's a good time, right? I think my favourite sail away is, I think this one that I've got a picture of here, where we were sailing out of White Bay in Sydney. So if you don't know White Bay, it's not Circular Quay. It's the ship goes under the bridge and sort of docks around the side there. So with the sail away party, you'll get up on deck, they'll have some music, a DJ, they'll have some people dancing, and obviously there'll be some libation there as well. So with the sail away party, it's good to get you into that holiday mode. The one I loved on the P&O, the best part I think of that was when they were sailing out under the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Yeah.
They counted it down. They told us we were officially on vacation. It was an American cruise director. Officially on vacation when we sailed under that bridge. That was fantastic, right? I've got a short on the channel as well that sort of gives you a view of what that sail away was like, so check that out. But yeah, the sail away party is a good way to get into that party mood, see how many people are on the ship. A lot of people will dress up. If they're in their matching cruise shirts, that's a good place to see them there as well. All right, so number 20 is to take names of the crew. I know with the Carnival Cruise Lines, which is your Princess, P&O, Carnival, you get a survey once you get back from your cruise. It's generally the day after you get back from your cruise. And on that, they're going to ask you if there's anybody you want to give a commendation to. Now, this means a lot to the crew. They'll often talk to you about it. If you think I gave 5-star service, give me 5 stars, right? Or 10 stars, whatever it is. It's really important. So it can mean things like promotions to them. It comes to the attention of their supervisor and their management on the ship. So a good tip to do that is exactly what we did here, is take a photo of their name badge so that you remember who they are. On their name tag, it's going to have their first name, it's going to have their position on the ship. So this gentleman, you probably can't see it, but he was a sommelier, and it tells you where they're from. So this gentleman was from Zimbabwe. But when you get back and you're a bit bummed because you've just got back off a cruise, you get that though. It's really important to put some effort into that. Sit down, take the time and do it. The part where you put through the commendations is right at the very end. I think you can put 10. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you can put a number in there. So we'll usually split it if we've had a really good cruise and we've taken quite a few names. We'll split it. I'll do some and Justin will do some there as well. All right, so for people who are travelling with kids, tip number 21 is to register for the kids club. So you do that on Embarkation Day, which is why we're talking about it on this video. So you can go to the kids club and register the kids. From all reports, the kids really enjoy it. We've met a number of people who have had kids in kids club and they've spoken really highly of it. Just bearing in mind that kids club isn't the only thing for kids to do on a cruise. There'll be oftentimes craft and just little things that they get the kids involved in there as well. But visit the kids club on the first day, talk to the people in there about the hours and what's involved and that sort of thing. You'll also find kids club is broken up between age brackets. So have a chat to the staff in there and they'll be able to let you know which one your child will go into and how that whole process will work. The big tip though is get in there on Embarkation Day so you can secure a spot. Alright, so number 22 is ordering items for your cabin. So there's a number of things that you can order on the app.
Yep.
So what are some of those things?
Well, I like the robes.
Oh, the robes are very nice. Yeah. What else?
Buckets of ice. We order them. Actually, no, they top it up every day after that.
They do.
Yeah.
So we found on Princess, once you order that bucket of ice, they'll keep coming and replenishing that. We didn't realise that at first, so we actually hadn't used the ice. We just wanted it there in case we needed it.
Oh, the fish. We had this huge bucket brought. That was way too much ice.
Yeah, so because they hadn't replenished it in time for when we wanted to have a couple of wines, and we're quite classy, we like ice in our wine, we called down to guest services, and instead of sending a normal bucket of ice, they sent a huge bucket.
Yeah,
it was
like a mop bucket.
Yeah, but it was a proper, drinks bucket. But yeah, it was about the size of a mop bucket. Needless to say, we were okay for ice that night. Yeah, that was
a good tip for the fridge. They often shut in a little cupboard. It tends to cool down better with the door open. Yeah,
it gets more ventilation around it. Because you find if you open the cupboard door, you definitely close the fridge door. But you find if you open that cupboard door, it's quite warm in there. So if you leave that door open, the fridge definitely does work better.
It doesn't get in the way.
No.
It's normally near the sliding door, so...
Yeah, usually on the other side of it. So it's not going to stop you getting out onto your balcony. Anything else you can order? Hangers. So we found that on the last cruise, we actually did back-to-back. So we did I think 12-day Christmas cruise, and then we tacked on another 3-day afterwards. The The reason we did that is because it was actually cheaper than getting accommodation in Sydney at that time. We travelled to Sydney, so getting accommodation in Sydney for New Year's and that period between Christmas and New Year was quite expensive. So we stayed on the ship.
Yeah.
So all up, I think we were on there for about 14 days. And for quite a bit of that, we were both wearing Christmas outfits. So we had Christmas shirts, hat with the bells on it, all of that sort of stuff, right? So we had quite a lot of luggage and quite a lot of stuff that we wanted to hang up. We found there were quite a few hangers in the room anyway, in the cabin anyway, but not quite enough. So we just jumped on the app, and on that app you were able to order more hangers. They showed up pretty quick, and it said you'd get 5 hangers. I think there was more like 20 in the bundle. Yeah. All right, this is our last tip for this video. So number 23 is wine on embarkation day. So have a look at the paperwork for the cruise line you're going with. I know with Princess and P&O, they allow you to bring on 1 bottle of wine each. Now we'll take good advantage of that. So we'll go and, there's a bottle shop right there at Circular Quay. So if you check out that cafe we were talking about before, just past that under the train station, you'll find a bottle shop there. So that's generally where we'll go on our way to the cruise ship.
What about beer?
No beer, just wine. Yeah, so no spirits, no beer, just wine. So go grab that, pop it into your carry-on because you're going to want to check it to make sure it's sealed.
Security.
Yeah, exactly. They want to make sure you haven't tipped out the wine and put spirits into it or anything like that.
And they will check.
They will. They've done this before. They've seen all the tricks. But one thing you are allowed to take on is those bottles of wine. So we'll generally do that. We'll put it into our carry-on, pop it into the fridge, and that's what the ice is for. Now,
we forget that it's there.
We generally do forget it's there, especially after we've had a few off our drinks package. However, it's a good tip to be...
You're like, ooh, wine!
Oh, that's good. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll generally sail in a balcony cabin, so being able to sit out on the balcony with our own bottle of wine works really well. You do have some glasses in the room. They're not always wine glasses, though. Remember, a cruise ship, you are allowed to walk around with your with your glass. So if you've, and I've walked around with a bottle tucked under my arm before today. But if you take a wine glass back to your room, you can wash it out in the sink and leave it there. They'll generally leave it there for you, right? So that's one thing we'll generally do. Take a glass back each to the cabin,
or you can order it on room service.
Yeah, that's another thing we'll sometimes do because you don't always have to be out and about on the ship. No. The last couple of cruises we did, we found it quite relaxing just to sit back in the cabin and watch some TV. They've got some really good movies on there, quite recent movies. There's Modern Family, another show we quite enjoy.
Binged.
Yep. But unfortunately, there was only one season of that, so we sat there and watched that one season a couple of times.
Learn it off by heart.
Absolutely. However, if you want to see every single episode that was ever made of The Love Boat, you're in luck. It did star the Princess Cruise Line, so they've got that on there as well. But we've found also with P&O, they've got a really good offering on their TV. So a lot of times not a lot of times, but sometimes we'll find we don't feel like going out. We don't want to go to a show. There mightn't be anything happening around the ship, or it could just be we just want to hang out in the cabin. So for those things, for those times, it's really good to have that, that wine there. If you run out of wine in your room and you've got a drinks package, you can order wine back to your cabin as well. They'll just come along with that order, knock on the door, and bring it to you. So we'll often have wine with soda water and some ice. So we'll order all of that. You can only order 4 drinks at a time. That should be plenty. They'll bring it to the cabin on a tray and bring it into you. When you're in port, though, you can actually bring wine back on board. You'll just pay a corkage fee. So they'll keep a record of the number of bottles that you've brought onto the cruise. Once you've hit those 2 bottles, because those 2 bottles don't have to be at your embarkation port, they can be at a port of call as well. If you do go over those 2 bottles, they'll just charge you a corkage fee. Have a look on the website to see how much corkage is. I know in 2020 when we paid corkage a few times, it was about $15, but I believe it's gone up considerably since then. So have a look out for that as well. The other thing you can do, so when we went to Tasmania on our recent cruise, we bought a few bottles of wine. From a winery. Yep, went to the Salvador, did a wine tour, organised by the cruise ship. When we came back, you had the option of them actually stowing the wine for you. So that way it's not in the cabin, so you're not drinking it, so they're not eating into their profits. You wouldn't have to pay corkage on it.
No.
So instead they'll take that wine, they'll pop it into somewhere on the ship, I don't know where, and then you'll be able to get that when you disembark the ship to be able to take it home. The other thing we did, we actually bought wine at another winery. I feel like this is
We
the
got
tip.
that sent home though.
I feel like
Most of them did.
Yeah, they did, yeah. I feel like this is the tip we're probably giving the most advice on. It could be something to do with the wine. So, yeah, as Justin said, we sent the wine home. I think we paid $20 for postage. We're still waiting for it to show up. It's a couple of weeks now. But it's easier than for us having to fly home with it.
Yeah.
So that's it for today's video. Hopefully you learned something from it and it makes Embarkation Day a little bit easier for you. We've got a whole heap of other videos planned, including some around booking, some around myths around cruising, right? So if you want to know, does everybody always get sick, and what are some tips that I can do myself to protect myself and my family from getting sick on a cruise? Do cruises always topple upside down? Those are the sort of questions that we're going to answer in that one. Sounds a bit tongue-in-cheek, but what we did is look for some common myths, some common questions that people ask about cruises, and we want to give you the information so you can make an informed choice. Folks, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really does help us grow the channel. It tells the algorithm that the information we gave you today was worth seeing and worth other people in the same position as you seeing as well. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day and happy cruising.
Bye.